UIC.
Freedom the people of need.
Hell yeah.
Freedom the people of need. Yeah, yeah. Freedom the people of want. Freedom the people of need. Yeah, yeah. Freedom the people of want. Freedom the people of need. Yeah, yeah. Freedom the people of want. Freedom the people of need. Yeah,
Yeah. Real man a road. Now bow wolf in a tree grand a road. Now bow down to no demon a road. UIC when you see man a road, me say yeah. Real man a road. Now bow wolf in a tree grand a road. Now bow down to no demon a road. UIC when you see man a road. Ready for broke every chain. That when you free up the people, levitate. Jamaica member, you ever great. I feel burn up the fire upon every snake. Me give thanks in every way. God still a look down once see we safe. UIC run the road long time. GLP and PMP I sell we out. Still I do the test even though we know the end result. If them coulda kill with them catch we and hang we know. No force no coercion, me freedom in a step. No one fi rob we and kill we and feel it.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to another episode of UIC Liberty TV. My name is Douglas Harper, and we are going to be talking about a very interesting topic tonight. The Prime Minister has made a couple constitutional missteps, and we shall be uncovering what they are and dealing with that. But before we get into that, let me see who is on. North GL Lem, Blessed United. I think Miller is the last name. I can't get the first one. JMH, big up yourself. Anne-Marie Henry says, good night, Mr. Patterson. Bless up yourself. Alan Scott. Good night, Mr. Oh, no, Alan Scott says what now? Oh my, these things are coming up so fast. Getting tough, brothers. Yes. Lion Rule the Jungle says the future belongs to who prepare for it today. And Mr. Patterson and UIC is prepping a bright future for the Jamaican people. So join, support, and vote UIC. Absolutely, Lion. Purpose Driven Vibe says blessings, Mr. Harper. Blessings. Cardell, glad to have you on. Ocean Elliott, good evening. Good to have you on. Blessed evening to you. Mitzi Lawrence, blessing to all uniters. Kirk, good night. And Bruce Davis, welcome to University of UIC Jamaica. Maurice Williams, good evening, Mr. Harper and all uniters. Good evening, Maurice. So yes, tonight we're going to be talking about some very critical missteps that our Prime Minister has been making or has made over the last 7 years. They're quite significant, the missteps that he's made, the constitutional missteps, I should say. The question is, are they just mistakes of someone who's, this is his first time being a prime minister? Is it just like faux pas? Or is it, are they, a mistake? Or is it really the result, or are these missteps the result of unfettered power given to a cunning, very cunning political veteran? That's a question that needs to be asked, because a lot of us may not know this, but even though Andrew Holness is the youngest prime minister we've had, he's actually been in politics for a very long time. And so he's learned all the tricks of the trade, and he's picked up a lot of things from his mentors, from the people that, or the person that he was his protege, or he was his protege. Sorry. So he's very wily and cunning. Don't take him for a naive person at all when it comes to politics. He understands what's happening. So that's the question that needs to be asked. Tonight we are going to definitely answer that question, and of course share the UIC's proposal on what should be done with this one person having so much power. Very importantly, guys, remember that September 22 is our Walk for Good Governance now. We'll be leaving from downtown Kingston, near the War Theatre, and we'll be heading to Halfway Tree with stops in National Heroes Circle and Emancipation Park. So please remember to come out if you're here in Jamaica. If you're in the diaspora, please, tell your family and friends here in Jamaica to come out and support. And of course, tell them about the UIC. Very importantly as well, like, subscribe, comment, and share the live, please, as Mr. Lion Willie Jungle says. And, that will help us. And also, another very important thing is this goal that the UIC is on right now to have 1,000 people donating at least $25 a month, or the equivalent, Jamaican equivalent of that, or maybe Canadian equivalent, whatever. But $25 a month from 1,000 donors. That's the goal that we have right now. And we really need your support in getting those numbers up. All right, so let's get to the meat of the program. Of course, we're going to bring in the master teacher himself, Mr. Joseph Patterson, to kind of guide us along this whole class. So let me bring him on here. Good evening, Mr. Patterson. How are you
doing? Good evening, Mr. Harper. How are you doing today, sir?
I'm a bit tired, but other than that, I'm fine.
Welcome to the club. Well, today I spent some time getting our town crier together. I was actually on top of a vehicle, connecting speakers and running wires and getting contraptions fitted out, because we need to get our own town crier on the road. So I spent some time working on that, so you soon see a nice little town crier running out in your community somewhere. But part of my day today. But I'm looking forward to this conversation, because what it tells us is that, and I like the way you framed it. Here's our youngest prime minister, but he's really old in terms of politics. He has been in there for more than 25 years. So when a person, we're about the same age, the prime minister is about 1 year behind me in terms of age. And so when I left UTech, shortly after he left UA, and he went for 1 year into, if I remember serving right, into a charity. So I worked for a charity which I believe was politically connected, but a charity nonetheless. And then after that, he went and he spent another year or so in Mr. Siaga's office as the assistant to Mr. Siaga. He was handpicked by Mr. Siaga to be his assistant. So it was really under the guidance and tutelage of one of Jamaica's most experienced politicians. I think Mr. Siaga was the MP for the area for 40 years.
Wow.
And he was the Constitution. When the Constitution was being written, he was involved in that process of writing the Constitution, or at least around those who were. He's been around since Monday, just to show you how long we're talking about here. And so when Andrew Holness became his protege or his mentee, he came in at a time when Mr. Siaga would have had a full expanse of the journey maker from pre-independence, independence, and the 1980s issues of some 800 Jamaicans, fellow Jamaicans, in the name of politics. And so he has been there. And then he became an MP shortly after joining the office of Mr. Siaga. So he jumped right out of the universe and started right into so-called representational politics, where he represented the Jamaican Labour Party and has grown in that. So he is a creature of that culture. Whatever that culture is in the JLP and whatever that culture is in sphere, he's a creature of that. He's a product of that. He understands all the nuances. He's highly connected in how politics have worked and is still working in Jamaica today. As you said, Mr. Harper, he's no fool. He fully understands how the thing set. He knows how to deal with the thing. He knows how to leverage the thing to get certain outcomes. He would have learned from all the mistakes of Mr. Siaga. Mr. Siaga made many mistakes. If you notice, when we had the Doodles issue in 2010-11, the then Prime Minister Bruce Stone couldn't help but resign, given all of the optics, everything that happened with it showing clearly that he was involved with the darker side of society while also being Prime Minister, and he had to resign. You might recall that he singled out and specified and selected of all his ministers, he selected Andrew Holness to be the person to take over as Prime Minister. He would go up against Portia Simpson Miller, and of course, he was no match for her because Mama, he was in the prime of her political game at that time, and she too is a veteran of politics. She has been in politics from her eye to her knee, and so she understands how the thing works too. And so he lost that first having a stint as Prime Minister. So when you see making a number of apparent missteps, they're not really missteps. They're just things that can which don't work out. But there's a plan behind them. There's an intention behind it. You'll notice that he enjoys anything big to work, any opportunity he gets to be a quiz dictator. He doesn't give those up, so he likes them. So when we have even, you'll notice that he relished, like he really enjoyed that moment in our history where he was Lord and Governor, and he could say whatever and demand whatever, and that is why he used it in the way that he did. He used the DRMA as a blunt instrument to push his agenda without having to go through the limited checks and balances that we have in our Constitution today. So tonight we're going to talk about some of his missteps, and I look forward to your comment, and I will chime and give some thoughts there.
Some people are saying that the audio is not good. Audio isn't clear.
Can you hear me clearly though?
I can hear you. But
right.
It seems that.
But for some reason the others can't. Let me go back quickly. I am pulling the mic close to me. Everybody, can you hear me?
Let us know if you're hearing Mr. Patterson. Purpose-driven vibe says no.
Okay.
Adrian
can you
says
hear me clear?
Audio. Jenny
no.
Not clear. Devereaux no.
All
you
right.
here? Are you guys hearing me? Mixer line says no.
All right. My check. How is that? On my side, I'm thinking fine. It's showing me that I have very good audio on my end, and I'm hearing you very fine.
Natalie says a little better.
So hold on, Harper. Don't say anything. Let me just check from my end.
Okay.
All right. Another check. Mic check. Can you hear me? Well, I can't even hear myself now. I'm looking at my, I'm seeing no indication on my thing. Okay, it's on now. I'm seeing where. Can you hear me now? Can you hear me? Can you hear me? So can you hear me? Can you hear me? Okay, so it seems they can't hear me at all. They can hear you, but they can't hear me.
You want to come back in, log out and come back in, and see if that works. Are you hearing me, Mr. Patterson?
I can hear you, but I was muted for a second. I'm not sure why. I didn't mute myself.
Okay.
Check.
Pardon?
Hear me.
Yes, you're breaking up on my side now.
I'm breaking up on my side.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So, no, I have nothing else open on my side. We're just having some bad connections here, unfortunately. Okay. Oops. Let's see here.
All right. See if you can log out and log back in, Mr. Patterson.
Yeah, I'll try. So go ahead. You continue.
All right. So while he comes back in, I'm just going to play a video for you. So we're talking about, the missteps, the constitutional missteps that Mr. Patterson has, Mr. Patterson, that Mr. Holness has been making. And the first of which, the first that we caught of which is him actually getting rid of 2 senators through an undated or predated resignation letter that they had sent in. So I'm going to play that video for you, and hopefully while that is playing, Mr. Patterson will come back. Okay.
I say for the moment, because I feel vindicated. Right? I think that the action was unnecessary. I wasn't involved in any internal contest, and I feel vindicated. And I will now consider the judgment. I haven't read it yet because I've been busy all day. It is almost 100 pages. I will digest it. I will take the advice of my lawyers as to where I go from here. The view of many lawyers and constitutional experts is that Christopher Tufton and I can walk into the Senate next Friday and take our seats, because we are never validly removed. I think that outside of the politics of the situation, we have to understand that it is a ruling by the Constitutional Court that is of fundamental importance to the structure of our Constitution. It is going to be a guide to all future opposition leaders, all future prime ministers, because it applies equally to them. Not only here in Jamaica, but in every country in the Commonwealth that has a similar political system. That is a lesson, it's a salutary lesson for all such persons. What I want to say now is this. When I left home this morning, I took with me a statement that the opposition leader issued on November 25 last year, when my application for an injunction was refused by the court. I have 2 lines that I keep repeating in my head. He said then, "My fellow Jamaicans, today the courts have ruled on a matter that potentially could have created a constitutional crisis. That is, if I had succeeded in my injunction." He continues, "As leader of the opposition, I have a duty to protect the Constitution of the country." I want to say that that statement applies more now than it did then. And I expect him to protect the Constitution of the country.
All right, sorry guys. That was a video of one of the senators that Andrew Holness removed using predated or pre-signed resignation letters to have them removed from the Senate. The other senator was actually Christopher Tufton. And that particular senator, and Arthur Williams, actually took Andrew Holness to court and actually won. And so we have an issue here where, I wish Mr. Patterson was back, but it looks like his connection is really bad. We have an issue here where we have a prime minister that is using his, or well, at the time he was opposition leader, but we have an opposition leader that was able to use his position to remove people from the Senate at will. And because out of using pre-signed resignation letters. So here it is, under the now situation that we have, colonial system of governance that we have, senators are, the Senate, there are 21 senators, right? And the leader of the winning party, or the prime minister, appoints 13 of those 21, and then the leader of the opposition appoints 8, right? And so these 13 and 8 senators are basically beholden to the leader of the opposition for their party and the prime minister for their, if they're in government. And so we have a situation where senators aren't able to properly represent, or not represent, but make laws, pass laws that are beneficial for the people of Jamaica, but really are now passing laws because they want to be in good standing with either the leader of opposition, because maybe he may win the next election, or she may win the election, or the prime minister, because maybe I may get a ministerial position, right? Or some other kind of benefit. And so we have a situation right now where senators are really just rubber stamps for the prime minister and the leader of the opposition. Now, as it stands with this particular situation, where we are right now, the JLP has, I forgot how many seats, but you know, the PNP, like, it's a majority, right? So not only does the JLP basically control the lower house with the MPs, right? They also control the upper house with the Senate, and is now controlled by this man called the Prime Minister, who is willing to use his position to influence, you know, senators. So that's the first quote unquote misstep that we see happening with the Prime Minister. And it's not a good look. It's not a good look at all. I have actually here an article about this very same thing, where Mr. Holness now is explaining, you know, why he did what he did. And so we're going to look at it for a little bit. I'm going to walk you through it. It's an article that was in the Gleaner. I hope you guys are seeing it. Let me see if you, yes, you are. Okay, great. So Mr. Holness explains using pre-signed letters to remove senators. This happened in 2015. Opposition leader Holness is seeking to explain his actions when he used pre-signed undated letters of resignation to remove 2 opposition senators from the upper house in 2013. Right? So this is pre-signed undated letters of resignation. So he basically said to the senators, when they were in opposition, right? He appointed these senators and said, listen, write undated letters of resignation, sign them. And, you know, that is one of the prerequisites of being a senator. So, you know, I can now control you. So if you're not doing what I want you to do, I will just sign. I'll just use these pre-signed undated letters. And so this is when he was in opposition, right? I want you guys to understand. This was when he was in opposition. And we soon get to how much power the Prime Minister of Jamaica has. But this is when he was in opposition, right? So in a landmark ruling Friday, the Constitutional Court found that Holness's action was unconstitutional in letters to have opposition senators Arthur Williams and Dr. Christopher Tufton removed from the Senate. However, in a statement today, the Jamaica Labour Party leader said it was never his intention to act that was unconstitutional. Instead, he says, his overriding consideration was to discharge his duty to guard the spirit and intent of the constitutional provisions, which protects the Constitution from changes that may not be in the interest of the Jamaican people. I'm telling you, this man is seasoned. Holness says his actions were at all times guided by attorneys, including Williams, in whom he placed utmost confidence as persons competent to advise him on constitutional matters. Underscoring the significance of the ruling, Holness reiterated that he has referred it to a team of attorneys to research and advise him on any implications it may have on the country's constitutional arrangements. And here is the video clip that I just played for you. So here it is. We have opposition leader, right? The opposition leader. Now using the little power that he has, right? Because if you understand the Jamaican situation, the Jamaican political situation, you know, the leader of the opposition doesn't have as much power as the prime minister, right? And so when this man was in opposition, he used the little power that he had to get rid of 2 senators. That's a red flag, a huge red flag for me, right? And not only that, but it was unconstitutional, and the Supreme Court found it so. So that's the first step. And you know, unfortunately, a lot of people didn't see the writing on the wall. And well, I don't know if you want to say unfortunately. A lot of people didn't see the writing on the wall. And so when he won in 2016, you know, he now started to sink his claws or teeth into how close can I get to a dictatorship? You heard Mr. Patton say this earlier. He really, as he got in, we see that he started to set the foundations for a dictatorship. Now, it may not look like a normal dictatorship. And of course, you know, he's very good with the gift of gab, so he's able to, you know, say nice, lovely things to make it seem like it's not a dictatorship. But if you think about what has been happening to Jamaicans, or what happened to Jamaicans in the last 2 years, you know, that was pretty much a dictatorship that we were operating under, right? So he won in 2016, and in 2018, one of the first things he did, so he won, right? So now, you know, as Prime Minister, you have so much privilege, and this is where I'm going to talk about how much power the Prime Minister actually has. So when you are now the Prime Minister of Jamaica, you get to appoint 13 of the 21 senators, right? So now, again, we don't know if these senators signed resignation letters, but I wouldn't be surprised. Also, the lower house, forgot how many seats the JLP won, but it was a huge landslide victory for the UIC, for JLP as relates to seats, right? And so he has a majority control over the MPs and the representatives. And so here it is. Here's this man that has control. Remember now. And then he now appoints ministers to cabinet, right? So he controls the Senate. This is the Prime Minister, right? This is not just Andrew. Any Prime Minister controls the Senate, controls the House of Representatives or the Parliament, and controls the ministers, right? So he has control over everything, right? Also, and we're going to see this now, the Prime Minister also appoints the Chief Justice. So not only is he controlling the Parliament and the Senate, he also controls the justice or the judiciary system, or the head of the judiciary system here in Jamaica. So this one man has so much power. Also, he advises the Queen on who should be Governor General. So we have a situation where we don't see it, and a lot of people don't talk about it like that, but it really is a dictatorship. If this one person has so much control, right? So much control. He has 13 senators that pretty much are going to do what he says, because, you know, as senators, you want now to be either a minister or maybe an MP, right? You have MPs that are beholden to this person because they want to be a minister, right? And then you have the ministers that are at his beck and call, right? So we have a situation, and then the Chief Justice that he appoints. So we have a situation where this one person has so much control. And, you know, there's a quote that says, ultimate power corrupts. And that's really what's happening. You know, corruption is the order of the day. JMH says elected dictator. You know, he wasn't even elected. I mean, here's the thing. Our system, you go out and vote for your MP or for whoever is representing your constituency, right? And the party that has the most seats in Parliament, they become the party that becomes the government. And the leader of that party usually becomes the Prime Minister. Now I say usually because it's kind of weird. The Governor General appoints the Prime Minister, which is weird because the Prime Minister appoints him, advises the Queen and the Governor General, right? So, but so the Governor General could decide to appoint someone else, who obviously would have to be in leadership in the party, but could actually appoint someone else as Prime Minister. But it's usually the leader of the party that is appointed as Prime Minister, right? I'm seeing that Mr. Patterson is back. I hope everything is working. Let me see. All right, so your videos are blurry, or you're muted.
Did you say my video is blurry?
Yes, but I'm hearing you loud and clear.
Okay, but it is not clear.
The video is not. It's not clear. It's blurry.
Wow, looks fine on my
Yeah.
side. But
Yeah. Let us know, guys, if you can hear Mr. Patterson now.
Can you hear me clearly? Can you see me clearly?
While we wait on those, so true, JMH says, we don't vote for the Prime Minister. Power corrupts and absolute power corrupts absolutely. That's the saying. You're right, Devereaux. That's it. Thank you so much. JMH says you're still breaking up, Mr. Patterson.
Okay, so I guess my connection is just not good enough tonight.
Yeah.
So I'll leave you guys.
All right, Mr. Patterson.
Okay.
All right, so Bruce Davis says video okay, but his voice is still muffling. Okay. Right, so I was saying, I'm now going to play for you. Do I have a video of this? No, I don't have a video, but I have. Oh yes, I do. All right, so I'm going to play for you a video. And the Prime Minister here is speaking on the appointment of the new Chief Justice. And so what happened is that he appointed this Chief Justice as an acting position. So he's not fully, he has his role is an acting Chief Justice, still acting, right? And that's a red flag, because why wouldn't you give the Chief Justice the position? Why wouldn't you give the person position, right? Why are you having them as an acting role? Normally, when you give someone an, place them as an acting, it's probationary, and after that there would be some kind of move to making them permanent or making them full in the role. But up to now, Chief Justice Brian Sykes, is still acting. And here we have Andrew Holness speaking on that issue. Let me see if I can play it for you guys. All right.
In the appointment of the Chief Justice, I was encouraged by the very people who are critical now to take an unconventional view. I followed that view. I interviewed after having gone through a process of shortlisting the Chief Justice. I have never met the person who I've selected as the Chief Justice. I have never had the opportunity to have a conversation with him. I can safely say I do not know him. And I selected someone based upon what is presented on paper as his resume, and what I have researched as his work, and what I have consulted with his peers. It is indeed a break from the traditional and conventional way in which this was done. I am certain that the Chief Justice understands that I am a person who believes in systems of accountability. I am not intent on treading, trampling, or in any way interfering with the independence of the judiciary. But the judiciary is also accountable for how taxpayers' funds are spent. We want to see an improvement and strengthening in the rule of law and timely justice outcomes, and the Chief Justice will be accountable for this. I can't be any clearer. Those who want to criticize have the luxury of doing it. I have the luxury of running a country and being accountable to the taxpayers for the results of the systems that we are elected to run.
Sorry, guys. I was muted. I was muted. Sorry. Right. So I went off. I don't remember what I was saying. All right. But here we have a situation where, the Prime Minister is giving his reasons for appointing Chief Justice Sykes. And boy, I don't know. It's not, it don't fly with me, but hey, we've already given this man so much power, and he's willing to use it, and he's going to use it for whatever, in whatever way he can. I saw someone make a really good comment earlier. I think it was Paulette. Yes, I don't really read the message thread. You know, when I'm talking, I don't really look at what's happening in the chat. Yes, but she said something right. The question has to be asked of Mr. Williams. Why would you still want to work in such a Senate for such a dictator, sir? The fact of the matter is, unfortunately, this is how the politics has been set up in Jamaica. It is all for gain for them. So if he's no longer senator, he no longer has certain advantages, right, than the average man in the street, right? He will lose some connections. He may still have, you know, friend connections, but in terms of, you know, being able to do certain things, he may not be able to have that. And so a lot of people really get into politics because they want to be connected. They want to be connected to the connected, right? And because of how Jamaica is set up, where if you don't know nobody, dog name your supper, right? Everybody wants to have somebody that they know, that they can pick up a phone and call and say, Ray, whether it is, you know, you're getting problems and you can call so-and-so to get you out, or whether it is you need, you know, something clear off of the wharf, so you can call somebody and say, yeah, or whether it is, whatever it is, you know, connections is what runs, unfortunately, well, in most countries, but Jamaica, right? And so a lot of people really are willing to forego being treated XYZ, right? And still, you know, partake in the play, right? Now, him taking Mr. Holness to court is again just part of the charade, you know. It's part of the game. It's part of the theatrics, right? They all know what's happening. They all know what's going on behind the scenes. Mr. Lawrence says that's what I think he wants to do without fear, to bring his people Jamaica and pay close attention to what these people are doing. That's right. All right, let's scroll down. You guys are not hearing me still? Or maybe that was before. All right, so the second step. Greetings, Howard. Bless up. The second misstep was this, you know, appointment of an acting Chief of Justice. So, you know, you can now control the judiciary, you control the Senate, you control the House, the lower house, and you control the ministers, right? This is ultimate power, right? And again, this is not just Andrew, like anyone who is prime minister has this, right? And this is why the UIC is so focused on changing our governance system, right? And we'll get to that later on. So the next misstep is, again in 2018, well, I don't know if it was started in 2018, but in 2018, the government had states of emergencies. This is when it's like almost like they found out about, hey, we can use states of emergencies, and you just started seeing them all over the place, you know, just popping up all over, Zozo and states of emergency, and Zozo and states of emergency, and it was really crazy. It's like, is that your crime plan? Is that your way of dealing with crime? But anyway, in 2018, under a state of emergency, authorities violated a man's human rights by detaining and holding him for months without trial. So here it is, they have a state of emergency, right? They detain someone, right? And held this person for months without trial. So imagine there's a state of emergency in your area. The police or the authorities detain you, right? And then have you in a holding cell for, well, I don't even know if it was a holding cell, but hold you for months without trial, without saying why we've detained you. So the Supreme Court actually ruled that his rights to liberty and free movement were violated by his arrest and subsequent months-long detention. So again, we see where the Prime Minister is using or is able to, well, authorities through the Prime Minister are able to use their authority to and use force, you know, to manhandle Jamaican citizens, right? And so the courts ruled that this is unconstitutional. And let me see if I can share that now. So the courts ruled that was unconstitutional. That shouldn't have happened. And again, what has happened since then? Still having states of emergencies. We still hear them talking about having states of emergencies. So SOE dilemma. Court rules against unconstitutional detentions. This was in September last year. Well, no, 2 years ago. A landmark Supreme Court decision ruling as unconstitutional the months-long detention of 5 men without charge could doom the Homeless Administration's much-touted plans to use states of emergency, SOEs, as long-term crime-fighting measures. I mean, state of emergency, long-term, really? But one attorney for the government has made it clear that the judgment should be appealed, appearing to be baffled by some of the reasonings by Supreme Court Justice Bertram Morrison. Why? Why would you be baffled? Justice Morrison, in a judgment published on Friday, ruled that the detention of 5 men under the SOE constitutional. Courtney Hall, Everton Douglas, Nicholas Heath, Courtney Thompson, and Gavin Noble were the 5 men who are at the center of the judgment. In the 64-page judgment, Justice Morrison outlined why the detention of the men was unlawful. According to Morrison, there was no justification presented by the government to facilitate a proportional assessment of any legitimate objective behind the claimant's detention. This I find to be egregious, overstepping the bounds of the power of the executive, he said. The Supreme Court Justice further ruled that the detention orders were also unlawful. Detention orders under the SOEs were issued by the National Security Minister. Justice Morrison ruled that the use of the orders for the detention of the men of criminal cases without proper review breached the doctrine of separation of powers. Under the Emergency Powers Regulations, a tribunal is set up to hear a claimant's objections to his detention. Justice Morrison is of the view that the tribunal should not give direction for the detention of the claimant in circumstances that conflict with his constitutional rights. In his judgment, Morrison contended that the Emergency Powers Regulations 30 and 33 in relation to detention orders and appearance before tribunal gave unfettered discretion to the police and national security minister. This is in relation to the committal of persons to penal institutions or jail for criminal offenses. Scroll down a little further. Let's see. Right, an RJR Gleaner Commission Don Anderson poll conducted between July 24 and August 3 found that 67% disagreed with the government's decision to discontinue the SOEs, while only 33% agreed. So this is something that the government has been using a lot to say, well, you know, the people want SOEs. The people are okay with states of emergency, and so why are we, you know, why do we want to stop this? Why do we want to stop this effective crime-fighting thing from happening? Right? 71% of respondents in the survey believed that SOEs were effective in fighting crime. The poll found that a majority of Jamaican voters, 66%, say they believed that SOEs should be used as a long-term measure. 34% disagreed. Now, again, this is the Gleaner reporting, and the Gleaner will say whatever they want to say. Let me not say it like that. But the Gleaner will put things, in perspective, right? So that when the reader is reading, they say, oh, okay, well, even though Supreme Court is, against this, most people think, most Jamaicans agree with this. So who is the Supreme Court? Who cares about them? Let's go with it. And so maybe this is also part of the reason, because if you notice, the guy before Justice Morrison was the person before this new acting Chief Justice, Sykes. So, I mean, again, very fishy, but hey, so that's the third step, misstep by the Prime Minister. Detaining people or allowing people to be detained under an SOE, a state of emergency. And not only just detaining them, but holding them for months without any trial. And that's unconstitutional. Now, the fourth one is, before I get to the fourth one, there's another thing that popped up, and I should really talk about it. Is this NIDS bill? I think it was 2018 as well. 2018 was a year, man. The government put forward, this idea of having NIDS, put forward the NIDS bill. NIDS stands for National Identification System, I think, or National Identification Scheme. Anyway, and so the Supreme Court actually struck it down and said it was unconstitutional. But again, our wily, cunning Prime Minister found a way to go around that. And so now we have, I think they're supposed to be starting the NIDS next year or later this year. And so, here we have a Prime Minister that has been able to just, do what he wants, because he has control over all the different sides, So the last one I'm going to talk about, before I talk about the UIC's proposal and plan and position, is a very recent one where we had the retired Army General, Rocky Meade, being appointed Cabinet Secretary. This happened this past week, and this was actually, all over the news. This new Cabinet Secretary, Rocky Meade, is now going to take over, and all seemed to be going well, right? But before I get there, let me play the video about it. Sykes is his name. Sykes, not Skies. Did I say Skies? I'm sorry, guys. And that rhymes. Right, so here we are. I'm gonna play our new cabinet. Well, he resigned, but yeah.
Jamaica Defence Force head, Lieutenant General Rocky Meade, has been appointed Cabinet Secretary and head of the Public Service. The retired military man will succeed Ambassador Douglas Saunders, who will step down in October. That's according to a statement Tuesday from the Office of the Prime Minister. Saunders occupied the post since June 2008. Prime Minister Andrew Holness in the statement notes Meade's years of experience in government will be an asset to public service and the push for efficiency and service excellence. Holness also lauded the integrity, commitment and accountability exhibited by the outgoing Cabinet Secretary and thanked him for his service. Meade is referenced as saying he's humbled by the appointment and being optimistic about his new role. One social and political commentator is lauding the move as progressive.
I think it's a positive move that we're using the resources. He's retired, yes, but he still has a young enough man, lots of brain power, lots of training, and we're using his skills to benefit the country.
Chang says Meade's knowledge from the JDF will prove an asset in the role.
Having a military man moving in a position in Jamaica, we can't joke about it, about a possible military takeover. because we know it's not going to happen in Jamaica, but some countries are rewarded. But in Jamaica, the JDF consistently polls as the most respected entity. You know, they're seen as disciplined and a lot of knowledge. You know, trained by engineers and stuff. So having a JDF trained as cabinet secretary, I think most people would react positively to it. A respected organization, the man has proven himself. And so whatever skills he had as a JDF head, the organizational skills should be carried over as cabinet secretary.
Meade will assume his role as cabinet secretary on October 1. Nika Lewis, CDM Live.
Right. So he would have taken up position, but there was a letter, he wrote a letter yesterday, yesterday, or was it earlier today, where he declined.
King Charles III addresses the British Parliament for the first time as monarch. We begin today's show looking at the legacy of British colonialism.
Sorry about that. Right, so we have a situation now where our Prime Minister has been using his position to kind of, as far as I'm concerned, he's setting up himself for dictatorship. I mean, he has control over the Senate, he has control over the MPs, the ministers, the Chief Justice, right? And now, Cabinet Secretary, maybe. Well, we'll see who is going to be the next person. But also, he'll now be able to have control over not just the people in Parliament and the political class, as he likes to call them, but also the average person with the NIDS bill. So they're now able to, with NIDS, to lock off, well, first and foremost, NIDS bill will allow them to have a single identification for everyone in Jamaica, right? But they're going to tie that now to the CBDC, the central bank digital currency that they're starting. So it's all coming together. I mean, if you really look at all the pieces to the puzzle, you can put the puzzle together and tell you where, you can kind of know where this is going, right? So it's very important that we at this particular time, stand up and said, boy, this can't work. And that's one of the reasons we're doing this march, because the corruption has just taken a completely different, not different, but like it turned up to 1,000 degrees right now. You know, you have people in Jamaica that are acting in corrupt ways that don't even know that they're being corrupt, because it's such a normal thing now. In order for you to run a successful business, my next door neighbor is a businessman. And he literally said this to me. He said, listen, in order for you to be like successful in business, in order to get things on time, to get things, you know, to get money, like to get customers or clients, or, you know, you have to be corrupt. There's no way you can be clean in this country and make lots of money. It's just not going to happen. You have to somehow, some way, you know, do some form of corruption, somewhere, some form of force, some form of fraud, to be able to just make money, just be able to run a business here in Jamaica. And it's sad. It's really sad that this is the state that we are in. Looking at some of the comments. Yes, please, like up the thing. Working toward their agenda, Mr. Harper. Exactly, definitely. Devereaux says the military background sound like red flag again. Very much so. And you notice what the social commentator said. The social commentator, Mr. Chan, said, yes, you know, this man has military background and be very beneficial. Of course he'll be very beneficial. Of course he will. So what is the UIC's position and plan on all of these things? Because as we said earlier, forgive me guys, but I'm trying to send some things to this computer so I can share it with you guys. So I don't even know if I can share it now. All right, so I wanted to share the UIC's. Let me see if I can find it. There's a chart that the UIC has of or governance or style, or not style, but or hierarchical governance model, if that makes sense. I'm going to see if I can find it. I'm looking for it here. Let's see if I can find it. All right, great. Oh, but I can't pick this up. Oh, man. Okay. All right, so we'll go on. All right, so what is the PUIC's? What is the UIC's position on all of this? Well, we've taken a look at what's happening, right? And when I say we, it's really Mr. Patterson, but you don't know. You know, as a member of the UIC, you know, you hear these things and they make sense to you. And a lot of for me personally, a lot of the stuff that I heard, I didn't really understand at first, but then, you know, when you see things start happening, you're like, oh, okay, that makes sense. But the UIC sat down and said, all right, listen, one of the biggest issues, or if not the biggest issue we have in Jamaica, is corruption. And corruption really is the mother of crime. So the more corrupt you are, you know, the more corrupt your country is the more crime your country will have. But not just crime. The more corruption you have is the less educated your people will be, right? The more corruption you have is the less, you know, the lower your country's economy, because, you know, crime also affects the economy, right? So you're being less productive. So one of the root causes of corruption, which leads to so many other things, is bad governance. And so we looked at the governance model of Jamaica right now. And we have a colonial model based off of our colonial masters, and a Westminster model. And as I said earlier, this Westminster model gives too much power to one person, right? And so if one person gets so much power, they're going to, even if they didn't think of using it before, they're going to say, oh, well, I can do this. Really? I can do that? Okay. I can do that too. You know what I mean? So after a while, it's no, well, if I have access to all of this, why not use it, right? If I can do what I want to do, why not? And so the UIC has said, listen, we need to stop this. We need to stem this, right? And so what we've come up with is, instead of having a Westminster model that is built on two political parties fighting each other, that's actually gotten the Jamaicans to be divided and fight each other, right? Let's now form a Congress, a group of people coming together, or the whole Jamaica coming together and building on what we have instead of tearing each other down. So in 1944, the JLP won the first election, right? And when the JLP won, the PNP now set out to oppose the JLP, right? Instead of working with the JLP, instead of building something that the two sides work together in creating something, it was more what the JLP is saying is wrong, or we can do it better, or you get what I'm saying? And it was never about let's come together, right, and build Jamaica. And so we started having people saying, I am JLP, I am PNP, and if you're JLP, me can't talk to you, or if you're PNP, me can't talk to you, right? There are communities that were separated along party lines, right? And then the government now expanded on this and started building garrisons, like actual garrisons. This is crazy. Actual garrisons, right? And for their supporters. So the PNP will build this, area for their supporters, and JLP will build this area for their supporters. And then they would now have a representative, well, I mean, not a political representative, but have a Don that controls that area that is linked to them. So the PNP area has their Don, and that Don reports to the PNP. The JLP has the area has their Don, and and then now they give these Dons guns. It's crazy. Over the last 78 years, this has been happening, right? And I mean, what do you expect to come out of that? Clearly, nothing. Clearly, where we are right now is because of all of that. And so the UIC has said, listen, let us, instead of having this divisive political or partisan approach to politics, let's have a unified approach to politics. And that's why the start of the name is United. We want to unite Jamaica, right? So we unite Jamaicans. We also want people to represent their constituencies or represent their parish or represent their county as independents. So United, Independence, Congress, right? We don't want to have a parliament, we want to have a Congress. And so, okay, so we have that. How does that play out? Well, it plays out with a non-partisan constitutional republic. We can't have a governance system that gives so much power to one person. So how do we break that up? Well, we have, first and foremost, just in terms of running for office, we're going to have a 100% publicly funded campaign financing system. So anyone who wants to represent their constituency or their parish or their county will be able to do so, whether they're poor or rich, right? And we will not be having, no one will be able to have private funding, anyone privately funding their campaign. Your campaign has to be based fully on 100% public funding, right? So that means that levels the playing field, right? So you won't have people that don't have the money not winning a seat because they don't have the money. You'll have people now campaigning on policies and not campaigning on whether they're going to fix your road or, whatever, give you a community center or whatever because they have money, right? So that's one thing, right? But then also we want to break up the actual system, right? So we want to have a head of state. So we're going to remove the queen or the king now, right? And we are going to remove the governor general, right? And we are going to have a president. And that president will be directly voted on by the Jamaican people. So directly elected by our Jamaican people. So no longer will you have a head of state that, we don't have any, we never made them head of state. We never voted them in. We never put them as head of state. They just became head of state because of, their family line. As I said earlier, we don't really vote for a prime minister. So we don't have control over who was head of state or queen or king, right? In this system here. We don't have control over who's the governor general, right? And we don't have control. We kind of do have control over the prime minister, but again, it's the governor general that really does appoint the prime minister. So the governor general could say, hey, listen, I don't really want this person to be leader. I want this person to be the prime minister, right? So we really don't have the top three, the monarchy, king, queen, the governor general, and the prime minister. We really don't have that much control over, right? Who we really have control over is the MPs. And we don't have control over the Senate either, right? So what the UIC is saying, let's give the Jamaican people control over that, because it's, right? The government is here to serve you. So you tell us, right? So you tell us who you want to be your head of state, and you're going to vote for that person. You're going to elect that person. So that's the president. Then we're going to have 3 vice presidents, right? 1 for each county, right? So 1 for Middlesex, 1 for Surrey, 1 for Cornwall, right? And so if you live in, whatever county, you will vote for the VP for your county, right? We're going to have 14 senators, 1 for each parish. So if you live in a particular parish, then you're going to be able to vote for the senator for your parish, right? You're going to also be able to vote for your, well, they call him MP now, but we call him representative. So we're going to have maybe less than 63, but right now we have 63 constituencies around Jamaica. And so you're going to be able to vote for your MP, right? Which we all do. So that's now leveling the playing field, because now everyone has a vote. I mean, like, everyone has the opportunity to vote for the leadership, right? So you vote for the president, you vote for a vice president, you vote for a senator, you vote for an MP, right? So we're leveling the playing field. We're making it very open, fair, and honest, right? Very transparent. And now when it comes to the ministers of cabinet, or ministers of government, I should say, these people are going to be subject matter experts. So you'll no longer have, like what pertains now, a medical doctor as the Minister of National Security. You'll never have that, right? The Minister of National Security should be someone who understands security, right? The Minister of Health should be someone who understands health, right? And so we're going to have subject matter experts as ministers of government. Now, these people are going to be nominated by the executive. The executive would be the president, the 3 vice presidents, the general treasurer, and the general secretary, right? They will nominate these people. And then the senators will publicly vet these people. So publicly vet the nominees, right? So they're going to be interviewed on public TV. Everyone can tune in and watch, right? And then the representatives will vote yes or no on these people to be ministers. So we have a very, very fair system. And also, if someone, or if the president wants to remove someone as a minister, then he's going to have to go through that whole process again, in terms of saying why this person should not be a minister anymore. And, that's going to be publicly vetted and all that, right? So we have a system that that is really transparent and fair, and has all the checks and proper checks and balances. Paulette Angelo says, on that note, the counties will have to be redefined and renamed by the UIC based on population density and distribution and basic geography. I don't see how St. Mary's in Middlesex. Well, I agree with you 100%, Paulette. We're gonna have to kind of work that around. Over time, that will happen. But I think the very first thing the UIC will do when it becomes the new government is to implement this new non-partisan constitutional republic. New constitution. It's going to place the Jamaican people as sovereign, right? So there'll be nobody above you that is sovereign. No PM, no Governor General, no Queen or King. You are sovereign, right? So you'll have the Constitution, which is a law, and then, the people of Jamaica as sovereign. And, everything else falls down after that. I really would have liked to share the image with you, but it's not coming up. So I could have explained it better for you. So that's basically the system that we have. Let me look on my notes to see if I covered everything. That we have to help not to help, to actually do away with corruption, because now you're not going to have political party. Well, you still have political parties, I guess, but the political system will not be dependent on you being a part of a political party, right? You can run independently, and that you running independently doesn't depend on whether you have money or not, right? You'll be able to run, you'll be able to, talk about policies, and it would be a whole different ball game. Nowadays it's all about dub plate and theatrics and stuff like that. But we're focusing on policies, plans, and what can really move us forward. And so that's what the UIC is all about. Let me look at some of the comments. Smooth Baby Boy says, good, you're talking about corruption. Devereaux says, why have 14 parishes? Why we need 3 counties? These are all questions that, all these things need to be questioned. That's true. But corruption is wide in our country from top to bottom. Definitely, Smooth Baby. Smooth Baby Boy. I agree with you 100%. As I said earlier, there are people that are practicing corruption and don't even know it. Don't even know it. They just, it's become such a, not just a common thing now that, people believe that that's the only way I can get things done, right? Is to do this or to do that. And you say, well, that's corrupt. And I say, yeah, well, but how am I going to get things done? Notice how in normal times the media call these areas garrisons, rightly so, but in election times they address them as strongholds. Definitely, the media isn't in the middle; they're on both sides. Oh, 100%. Remember that they are controlled by the PSOJ oligarchs. The PSOJ oligarchy owns the media houses. So and the PSOJ is playing both sides. Listen, it don't matter whether PNP or JLP win. It's a win for them. Right? It really doesn't matter. So the media is doing exactly the same thing that their owners, the people that own them, are doing. What happened to all the military vehicles that he bought last year? Question. I'm not sure, Natalie. Let's see if we had any new messages. I don't even like the name parishes, says Devereaux. Sir P needs to get aboard the ship. Is that the ship of changing parishes? How will the UIC handle all of what? Smooth Baby Boy. Nathalie Mulling says that's the worst Prime Minister of Jamaica. He has a lot of ulterior motives. Oh, definitely. Erland Malcolm, only when they are extremely corrupt. Right, so Devereaux says Mark of the Beast business where we Christian friend them love talk about. Oh boy. A prominent member of parliament once said in Jamaica, the man who plays by the rules is the man who gets shafted. Yes, somebody did say that. I don't remember who that was, Paulette. Why is there so many Chang and Chung in the Jamaican government? And I'm saying this with no disrespect. Well, I guess it's a part of our culture, our history. A lot of Chinese are here in Jamaica. But the Chinese are connected, right? The Chinese and the Indians are the ones that, have lots of connections. And so, you'll always want to be connected to the connected, right? Sir P needs to get on board the UIC ship. Young G, why does everyone on the system have a scamming mentality? Or everyone on the system? Well, it's part of, you see, part of it is you grow up and see it, right? So again, if everyone sees this happening as a normal thing, then they're going to see that it's normal. They're going to think that, hey, this is the only way to go. This is the only way, this is how the only way it can happen, or this is the only way it will happen effectively, right? So like my next door neighbor says, listen, in order for you to run money, make money as a business, you have to be doing something corrupt. Now, it may not be big corruption, but, little things, right? Favors here, favors there, and that's just how it is. And so when you grow up seeing that as that's just how it is, then you say, well, what other way is there, right? So it's just normal for many of us right now, unfortunately. The government has a lot to hide. That's why they wanted to change the Information Act. Devereaux says, yep, for real. Maurice Williams, I think those military vehicles is to go fight the Maroon in the cockpit country. Well, they're doing a good job with fighting them. Joseph Richardson, until the UIC become the next government, Jamaica will never see the light. I do hope the people will see the way. UIC, big up. Bless up yourself, Joseph Richardson. You have a very good name. First name, right? Smooth Baby Boy, UIC needs a podcast. Interesting. Yeah, that could be something. Young G, so change starts with the children, I guess. So right now we have a failed future then. Change does start with the children, but I wouldn't say that we have a failed future. I think we have a bright future. It's just that there are a lot of us that have been, some have been blinded, some have been tarnished or made to believe that there's only one way to be successful. And I honestly believe that if people see that, you can actually be successful without having to do, these corrupt things, they would say, oh, well, okay, let's do that. There is going to have to be some kind of what do I say now? Public education, sort of, because again, we are kind of we've been trained to think a particular way, and so untraining that and training something else is going to take some time. But I don't believe that we have a failed future, especially with the UIC. I honestly believe that UIC is the future Jamaica needs, and it's the only option we have right now. A lot of people are saying, how do we trust, what the UIC is saying? And the truth is, you only have three options right now. One is to vote JLP or PNP. And that's what we've been doing for the last 78 years, so we know what we're going to get, right? The second option is to not vote, which is what a lot of people are doing. We've seen in the polls where, that number of people that have said they're not going to vote has increased, right? And the numbers for people that would vote for both PNP and JLP have decreased. And the numbers of people that would vote for a third party have actually increased. So there's hope there. But we're seeing where more people are willing to not vote because they've just woken up to the reality that it's just two sides of the same coin, as Mr. Patterson says. So, or as Mr. Lloyd Diagla said last night, it's two wings on the same bird, right? So a lot of people are saying, I stay away from the polls. Now, when you do that, you're still getting the same result as option one, because the people who do vote are going to vote for either JLP or PNP, and you're going to get back the same thing that you've always been having in the last 78 years. So you're going to get the same result as option one if you do option two, which is not vote, right? The third option, and is the only option as far as I'm concerned right now, is to vote UIC. That's the only other option, right? And to answer the question of people saying, so how do we trust that what else are you going to do? You have to trust. Put us in the position then to fail, as Mr. Patterson said two nights ago. If you think that we're going to fail, or if you think that we are more of the same, then prove yourself right. Put us in the position, right? And put us there and see if we fail. Because that's the only way you're going to find out. We already know what the JLP and the PNP, because the 78 years of that, we have the history. You don't have the history of the UIC. You get what I mean? And so you really only have one option right now, and that is the vote UIC. So I encourage all of you to share as much as possible. Share this live, but also share the UIC, share the manifesto, share the 10-point plan, share the website, share the Facebook page, the Instagram page, the Twitter page. Just share, right? Like the lives, Thank you guys for tuning in. You know, you guys are always tuning in every night, night after night after night after night. I really appreciate that. And then you also want to get involved. So you want to, you know, be a volunteer, or you want to donate to the UIC, right? Or you could do both, volunteer and donate. And then, you know, we definitely want to get candidates, because, you know, as Mr. Patterson likes to say, it don't make a sense you have, you know, this UIC and there's no one there. I watched a poll, or watched a new media house talk about a poll that they did recently on, you know, what's happening. And they said a very important, very key thing. They said, in our poll, we asked people about their representatives. So, you know, the JLP representative for the area, the PNP representative for the area, right? Yes, Paulette, I'm coming to that. So, but if the UIC doesn't have a representative in people's area, then they can't vote for the UIC, right? So we need to get candidates. That's very important, right? And then, of course, you know, we can start, you know, focus on boots on the ground and win, right? So part of this boots on the ground movement is an all-island tour that we have that is going on right now with the UIC. So we're going to different parishes in Jamaica. We went to St. Thomas the other day, or well, yes, went to St. Thomas last month. 2 weeks ago, we were in Manchester, sorry. And we may be going to St. Mary next. No, sorry, St. Catherine next, sorry. St. Catherine is next month, October. So part of that all-island tour is to get candidates, you know, expose the people to the UIC and get candidates. So that's part of the reason we're doing this all-island tour. So that's pretty much it for tonight's show. 1 hour and 27 minutes. This is actually the shortest live that we've had. Well, one of. Thank you guys for tuning in. I really appreciate all the comments, all the people giving their 2 cents or 10 cents or 50 cents or $1. I'm not donating, I'm just talking about in the chat, right? Paulette says, Douglas, get some flyers into the hands of the stoplight windshield wipers on the build up to Thursday. I will ask someone to do it on my behalf. Just give me the go ahead. Awesome, Paulette. Do you know how to get in contact with us? Let me leave the number on screen here. So call one of those 2 numbers and tell them that you would like to do that. We're actually getting some flyers for the march on Thursday. But you know, more flyers don't hurt, you know. Wade Nova says the media needs to free up the game changer. They got nothing to lose. Lion Rule the Jungle says this is the UIC website where you can join, definitely. So let's show. So definitely go on our website, and as I said before, become part of the movement, right? So you want to donate, you want to volunteer, you know, we need your help. So go on the website, uicjamaica.com, and you can join to be a member. You can see the manifesto and of course donate. Kevin says UIC for life. Don't know, big up yourself. You guys need a social media marketing team. We actually have one, but we're open to your suggestions, Young G. Please drop in the comments your suggestions. Joseph Richardson, does the UIC ship shirts abroad? Oh, does the UIC ship shirts? Yes, we do. So again, get in contact with this number. Tell them that you want a UIC shirt. We have polo shirts and we have what you call Oxford shirts. And we can get that shipped to you. Smooth Baby Boy says, I will join and help. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Smooth Baby Boy. So guys, before I go, I want to play for you, because I just love the video. Jamaicans need to work harder and smarter. We are too laid back. I agree with you, Jajoya. Devereaux, agree, need a podcast. It will reach even more people who said that give him a medal. No, it will also open up an avenue to bring in more people. Also try to get a representative on the Fix podcast. Interesting, the Fix, yeah, okay. Erland Malcolm, the things that gone wrong in our life, what are we going to do, sir, and let it remain wrong, or try to make correction to them? I'm not understanding you, Erland. USC government for years, definitely. So as we close out the show, I'm going to play. Do I have it? Please tell me I have it. Oh, yes, I do have it. I'm going to play the promo for our walk on Thursday as our outro for the show. So please come on out to the walk if you are in. Where are we now? Is this it? Yes. So if you are in if you're in Jamaica, please come out, show your support. If you're in the diaspora again, tell your friends. We'll be streaming live for you guys in the diaspora, so you can tune in and see what's happening. Lion Woon says you did a good job. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Smooth Baby Boy, I will help with the podcast for real. Okay. Smooth Baby Boy, let me put up the number again. Just contact the number. I don't want to give you my number on the thing. So just contact them and tell them that you want to work on the podcast, and they will put you on to me, right? More than likely. So write down one of those two, well, both of those numbers, because, if one not working, you can try the other one. And just tell them that you are interested in helping us start a podcast. Devereaux says, read comments. Okay. Oh, but I read your thing, Devereaux, already. All right, so people, we're going out with the promo. I came off it, so I have to go back in the folder. Right? So going out with the promo, and remember, tell your friends and family that are here in Jamaica to come out and join us on the live join us on the live for the walk, so you can see what's happening. All right, so thanks guys for tuning in. I really appreciate it. And hit like, subscribe, share. Thanks, Paulette. I'm going on you. I hope I'm not like, some kind of, anyway, I was going to say fungus, but yeah, thanks. So come out to the event on March 22, whether it be online or in person, and show your support. All right, so here's the promo. So good night, everyone. Thanks for joining the live. Appreciate it. Have a good night.
We the people of Jamaica are tired of the corrupt system of governance. We're tired of the high crime rate. We're tired of the low wages. We're tired of the high cost of living. We're tired of the bad roads and the toll roads. We're tired of the high electricity bills. We're tired of the water shortages. We're tired of the education system failures. We're tired of the poor healthcare system. We're tired of the lack of affordable housing. We're tired of high youth unemployment. We're tired of the corruption and injustices. We're tired of bad public services, high fees and fines. We're tired of the brain drain of our teachers and our nurses. We're tired of depressed, underpaid police officers. And we're tired of being working poor. We demand good governance now. We demand real republic now. We demand wages pegged to inflation now. We demand real security now. In short, we demand real prosperity now. And clearly, those in charge of our government for the last 78 years have failed to deliver on these things. And it's time we take the government over and fix the country and make it what we want it to be, because clearly, them can't do it.
On September 22, the UIC, alongside the people of Jamaica, will be walking in the streets of Kingston and St. Andrew to say, enough is enough. We want good governance now.